Hello everybody! Welcome back! Happy 2023! A lot of big changes happening already this year. As you can see, I'm filming this on my new phone, which has like a way better camera. The front camera is probably the same, but the back camera has 5 cameras on it. That's why all the concert footage was so good. So if you can tell based on the video that I just posted, I didn't do a reading vlog for December because I barely read in December. I got so busy at work, I went to the concert, holidays happened, I only read 2 books, and even then I didn't have a lot to say about those books. I read My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell, which is a very dark, twisted, pretty sick story about a teenage girl getting into a relationship with her middle-aged professor and learning in hindsight when she was in her 30s that was actually very toxic, abusive, and horrible to go through. So it was just her figuring that out very, very slowly with a lot of detail. And it was supposed to make you uncomfortable, and it was a very effective story that way. I ended up giving it about 3 stars because I don't know how else to rate this book, because I'm not going to recommend it to people, but I'm not going to discourage people from reading it at the same time. It's just a very heavy subject matter, obviously, so I didn't really have a lot to say about it. And then I also read My Name's Yours, What's Alaska by Alaska Thunderfuck, who is a drag queen. She was on RuPaul's Drag Race. She won one of the seasons, and it's just her life about growing up doing drag in the mid-2000s and her relationship with another drag queen and how she realizes that there was a lot of issues going on in her life and how she eventually rose up and became famous. So it's pretty interesting, and I also gave that one 3 stars. It's hard to rate Memoirs as well, just because that's somebody's life. So that's all I have to say about those 2 books. So here we are in a fresh year. I want to read 75 books this year because last year I read 72 out of 70, so I think that's a good goal to reach. I can't be too ambitious just because I didn't read as many books last year as I thought I was going to, so I thought 75 would be good. 75 to 80 I think is my goal this year. So the quick update of what am I reading right now? Well, I've of course started once again a book for my 100 Epic Reads of a Lifetime poster. And the goddamn poster is making me read Memoirs of a Geisha by Arthur Golden. If you don't know, this book is written by a white guy in the 90s, and it's about a Japanese woman who's becoming a geisha around the mid-20th century, and that's bad because, you know, I'd rather be reading the voices of actual Asian women. This book is just very, like, man-splainy. I will talk about it more in my vlog for my poster reads, but this has just been pretty dull and pretty boring so far. I am halfway through because it's January and at work things have died down since Christmas, so I've been able to read. So that's my update for now. Hopefully I will be getting wireless headphones in the mail soon so I can start listening to audiobooks again. This phone doesn't have an audio jack, and that was really disappointing to me. It's the only bad thing about this phone. Everything else about it is great. Like, I have a new editing program on it. I can make YouTube thumbnails on it. It's just been a mass improvement versus, you know, Windows Movie Maker that I've been using for the past 2 years. So new year, new exciting things, and you'll see what I do this month. So let's go. Hello, let's do a mini update first. So first of all, I am currently reading 2 books. The first one I'm reading is called Plain Bad Heroines by Emily A. Danforth. It is about these 2 girls in like 1902 who went to an all-girls school, and they were obsessed with an author's books so much that they formed a club called the Plain Bad Heroines. They died from a swarm of bees, and then a book was written about them, and now that book is turning into a movie where the actors playing them and the author who wrote the book are also entangled. It's a lot of, you know, like queer women. It's a lot of mess, and I don't like the book so far. First of all, I'm getting all the characters mixed up. Second of all, I'm getting the time period of the perspectives mixed up, like modern day versus the 1800s versus the brief spats of the early 1900s. That's a little worrying when I can't differentiate those time periods when they're vastly different. I mean, the author tried to make it different because she was like, hey kids, modern day Instagram hashtag goals. Ugh. Not to mention, the narrator of the book is a fourth wall breaking narrator, so she's always like, hey readers, isn't this crazy? I mean, it's like super crazy, and it's not, the tone isn't fitting well with what the cover of the book, the synopsis of the book, the premise of the book is matching. It's not connecting to itself. It's so disjointed, it is so convoluted, it's very dull as well, and there's not a lot of focus on the characters, there's not a lot of focus on their motivations, it's just what they're doing. And then the author will briefly say, oh, the author of the book is a very prickly person. Okay. Can you show me? Can you tell me why? Can you show me how that has any consequences? Nope. Okay. And there is supposed supernatural elements to this book. There is a thing that this topic of discussion, this topic of media is cursed, that anyone who talks about the original author of the book where the club was invented for, they die. Everybody's deaths are connected to this event in some way. It's very Picnic at Hanging Rock if it was done really, really, really badly. And there's a lot of themes in this book that just are very disconnected as well. There is constant mention of yellow jackets, of bees, because that's what killed the two original girls in the book club in the first place. And they're just ham-fisted into the book. Like, oh man, the sky tonight looked like a swarm of bees. Like, it's that, like, just weak. It's just not hitting any of the marks that it's selling itself as. It's very, very dull. If it had marketed itself as like a kind of Scream Queens or Mean Girls or like, you know, kind of modern day filming of a movie of like a historical event, if it was framed exactly in that, I think people would have been more like accepting of the story. But it's framed in this like gothic jacket, in this horrible like skin of a gothic novel, and it's thin and it's papery and it's ripping. It's just terrible. This book is just so misplaced. The author just failed to capture anything. Like apathy. It's just I'm apathetic to this thing. I'm listening to it. It's kind of like the book that I read last year where I don't even remember the name of it. It was like a Russian fantasy for young adults, and it just went through one ear and out the other. This one is capturing my attention more, but it's me mostly going like towards it, so not good so far. I am halfway done it. On a better note, I am reading The Pallbearers Club by Paul Tremblay, which is framing itself as a guy writing a memoir of his life as a teenager in the 80s, and he has formed the Pallbearers Club. They go to funerals where people don't really have any guests at the funeral, and they help carry the coffin to the graveyard. He was doing that to get more extracurricular stuff at school. He then meets someone at this club, and they become friends, and then he realizes that things aren't what they seem, and this is his memoir based on that. However, his friend has picked up the manuscript of this memoir, and she adds her own little commentary. So they're written in red is pieces of her comments and her commentary and her judging the events of the book. It has gotten very, very wild. I don't want to spoil it just yet. I will talk about the elements at the end here when I talk about when I'm done the book. And I just really like it so far. It is very short and succinct, and there hasn't been a lot of things where I didn't like that's what the story was saying. It's all very, very good. I'm really, really liking it so far. It is definitely the better book that I'm reading, comparing the two. I just want to get Plain Bad Heroines done and over with because it's just so tiring. And I don't want the Pallbearers Club to end because it's just so exciting. Alright, and finally I wanted to show off a thrift haul because I really, really scored on my last visit to the thrift store. It has been like 2 months since I've gone to the thrift store, so I'm very, very excited to show everything. First of all, I got 2 books for my 100 Epic Reads of a Lifetime poster. I thought this was the best place to get those kind of books because I might just donate them anyway when I'm done. So I got Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card, and I got The Golden Compass by Philip Pullman, which is the first book in the His Dark Materials series. I only have to read the first one of both of these series because these are the only books on the poster, and I got really cool kind of 90s copies of them, like sci-fi copies, mass paperbacks. I really, really liked them. The next two books that I got, I'm really shocked by because they're very, very recent books. First of all, I got A Deadly Education, which is a book that came out in 2020, and it's like the fancy hardback. I got this for $2. That's really cool. I've heard a lot about this, how it's dark academia adjacent. It's on all the lists, so I thought I'd pick it up because I recognized it. And I also got this book called Pandora by Susan Stokes Chapman, which is about a person in the past, and there's an archaeological dig, and there's connections to Greek myth, but it's not a Greek myth retelling. I just thought the cover was incredibly gorgeous. I read the back of it, and I was very interested in it. Like, it's very interesting to have archaeology, from like the very, very early 1800s. That's super, super cool, and I'm excited for both of those books. This book also came out 2022, so another recent one that I was surprised to see at the thrift store. And then for my not book related purchases, I got Barbie in Rapunzel, which is an older Barbie movie that I watched when I was a kid. I wanted to collect just the few that I watched when I was a kid. I think I only watched the first 4 or 3 of them. So here's one of them that I watched a lot as a kid, and I really loved it, mostly because her dress is purple, and that was my favorite color as a kid. And I found this funny little thing. In the late 90s and early 2000s, shows used to come out with these things called volumes, where they were themed sort of tapes or DVDs based on a certain theme. Like, for example, I have just a Scooby-Doo volume about their pirate episodes. So it has 3 episodes about them fighting pirates or solving mysteries with pirates. And I have a Buffy the Vampire Slayer themed volume just about Spike. So it has 4 episodes featuring Spike in them, and I was really, really excited to see this because I saw Spike on the cover of a DVD, and I went, what? So I grabbed this. I just thought it was too funny to pass up. And finally, I got the first and second complete seasons of SpongeBob for $6 each. I'm never going to find those cheaper anywhere else. All the discs are intact. I'm so excited. I've always wanted to own the early seasons of SpongeBob because those ones are the ones that I grew up with, and I'm just delighted to have the first 2 seasons for super, super cheap, and I'm very happy. My heart's very happy with that. So that's my update for now.
In every generation there is a chosen one. She alone will stand against the vampires, the demons, and the forces of darkness. She is the Slayer.
Look what I got in the mail. Yay! I'm gonna read this right now. Alrighty, let's do our wrap up for the month. Yeah, my hair got stolen. It's shorter now. I don't want to talk about it. So I started off my month by reading Memoirs of a Geisha by Arthur Golden for my 100 Epic Reads of a Lifetime poster. This book wasn't very good. I don't recommend it, and I am giving the book 2 stars. Next, I read The Pallbearers Club by Paul Tremblay, which is a memoir-style book where there are annotations from another person inside them, and it is a cool, weird, and twisted little story, and I liked it very, very much. I ended up giving it 4 stars. I then listened to the audiobook of Plain Bad Heroines by Emily A. Danforth, and I only ended up giving that one 2 stars because it was very muddled, very disjointed, and the writing style was not to my taste. Then, as just a quick little book to read at work, I read Trixie and Katya's Guide to Modern Womanhood, which is by 2 drag queens named Trixie Mattel and Katya, and it's just a jokey book on how to act like a modern woman, and it's just like a bunch of like fashion garbage crap, but it has some details into their life, and there are these chapter segments that are just conversations between Katya and Trixie, which sort of remind me of their YouTube show online. So I liked those parts, but ultimately it was just a very boring filler sort of coffee table book. I only ended up giving that one 3 stars. Then I read volume 2 of Fangs by Balibaly, which is obviously not their name, but it is a vampire BL manga, and so I read volume 2 of that. I thought that the second one wasn't as good as the first one. I didn't really like the plot, the murder mystery that they're setting up, and I found the cliffhanger ending to just be frustrating, so I only gave that one 4 stars. Next, I read this manga that my friend recommended to me. It's called Fire in His Fingertips. It is nothing but spicy scenes. I liked it. It's getting 4 stars from me. And I then finished my month off by reading Women Eating by Kohda, which is a sort of short literary tale about this girl who's moving out on her own for the first time. She's left her mother in a sort of retirement facility, and she's struggling to be an intern at this art gallery, but she is a vampire. She is sort of half human, half vampire because she was born human, but when she was a baby, her mom turned her into a vampire, so she grew up into her, full form, and now she's struggling to live on her own for the first time. It's a very, very, very short book. I got through it very, very quickly, and I just think that it was just too short to really have too much of an impact. Like, I know a lot of people describe this book the exact same way because that's literally all that happens in it. There are a lot of good themes in it, like her being biracial, her struggling with what art means to her, what being human means to her, what being a vampire means to her, struggling to figure out what she can eat and how to get it, stuff like that. So it was a pretty interesting read. I just found it a bit too short to have any real impact on me, so I ended up giving that one 3.5 stars. So that's it. That was my reading month, unless I sneak something in the last couple of days. Thank you so much for watching. Please look forward to more content from me this year. It's going to be coming out a lot smoother and faster just because of my new editing programs and my new camera, and I'm very, very excited to start the year off. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all next month. Bye-bye.